Okay, so this is going to be my demonstration for the point of sale system app for QSkip vendors, QSkip partners. The overriding principle here, the overriding intention, is to make the process for fulfilling orders, for amending the menu, for setting up promotions, and for getting analysis around those things as simple, streamlined, efficient, and easy as possible. That should be the overarching intention here. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are. So you have here on the side, on the left, you have a little pop-up menu which has the orders, menu, promotions, analytics, and profile, which we'll go through in order. So let's start with the orders. So you have this interface which is, it has the upcoming orders here. You can see new orders are coming in every once in a while. So there's a new order just popped in. And it has the live order. So this is the order, this is what during a shift at the vendor, the staff member will be having this on the tablet whilst they're working. Now, it's pretty big, bold, colourful, brash, to ensure that it's visible, highly visible in that environment. The idea is to try and make this as much of a production line as possible. Of course, the orders will be popping in when the consumers have obviously done the point of sale input themselves, should we say. So they will have browsed the menu, they will have made their order, they would have processed their order, and then it pops up in here. So all this person needs to know, they don't need to know the unit price for any of these transactions, for any of these products. They don't need to know if there are any promotions attached to it. They don't need to know any of that stuff which has already been done elsewhere. All they need to know is the bare minimum amount of detail, which is the product name, the number of products, the order number, which they will have to be shown by the consumer when they come to collect their order, and then they will hand over the relevant products. And then we have a list over here which shows the upcoming orders. These two orders have been done already. The one highlighted in grey is the current order, as you can see. Then you have the upcoming orders here, and it shows again the bare minimum detail. It shows 10 drinks, the number of drinks, number of products. Then it shows the estimated time for that order to be completed, and this will be mirrored on the consumer side. So the 8 minutes, once this has been completed here, then 8 minutes time the consumer will be arriving at the bar ready to pick up their order. Now this estimation for the time will be driven by data, and of course will get better and better, the number of transactions which go through the platform. And you can be more and more granular with this. You could do overarching orders, but that doesn't really work because obviously picking up 2 Desperados from the fridge is going to be a lot quicker than creating 2 strawberry mojitos or creating a Mai Tai jug. Therefore, you want to have a different time profile, shall we say, for completing different types of drinks, cocktails, and you can go for beers, ciders versus cocktails or something like that, or you can go more granular. You can say, okay, strawberry mojito versus a Mai Tai. Or you can go even more granular and you can go to the member of staff who is actually doing that specific shift. So you could have a member of staff who has logged into the profile, and you know that this member of staff, based on data, is really quick at making a good strawberry mojito, whereas another member of staff may take some time because they're new and they're being trained and all that sort of stuff. But you want to give a bit of a buffer so people aren't arriving at the arriving at the bar too early and therefore waiting, because you want to make this whole process as streamlined, as efficient, as friendly to both the consumer and the vendor. So this here, the idea here, of course, with seeing a list, is that if there's a lot coming up, this is obviously 10 drinks, then 3 drinks, 7 drinks. If this was 10 drinks, 20 drinks, 30 drinks, 40 drinks, then you would say, okay, this person who is monitoring this part of the bar, the queue skip transactions, as opposed to the ordinary transactions which are being done by probably the majority of the bar staff, they may say, okay, they may go in and list the assistance of one of their co-workers, one of their colleagues, in processing some of these larger orders. And to that end, you can click around. So for instance, if you had someone else, you say, I'm going to take Desperados, I'm going to take the Mai Tai, and then the other person say, okay, I'll take the Strawberry Mojito. So there's a segregation of duties, and it's very much a matter of a production line. This is trying to get to a production line. So the order comes in, immediately they get to work. You could even have a couple of people standing at a drink station ready to make the orders, and then as they go, they hand them off to another person in the production line that goes down, who is actually serving the drinks to the end consumer. And of course, that's one of the reasons why this is so big and brash and bold and colourful, is that in that environment you can see it from a distance. If they have this point of sale system, this tablet propped up against the bar at the place where they need to hand off the drinks, then they can see it from where they're processing the order itself, or they can, because it's a tablet, it's portable, they can just move and take it with them. And ultimately you can do that, or if there's just one person doing it, so they don't need to go through doing that, they can just complete the order, and then it just completes the order and it goes up. Now we're on to the next order. You can see new drinks come in. You can see this one's a slightly larger order, and then you can just complete that one again, and it keeps going up. You'll see that this one, of course, these order numbers are sequential, but this one, of course, is slightly earlier, which means that this person probably ordered half an hour earlier, and then scheduled their order to be at a certain time, and therefore it's been processed at that time. Of course, you can, as we saw with the consumer app, the consumer can schedule an order and can change that order within a certain time frame before that order is processed. So if it's a really big order which is going to take 20 minutes to make, then you would say, okay, probably 20 minutes or 30 minutes before, they can change the orders, they can change the time, they can cancel the order and all that sort of stuff. Once it's being made, essentially, then it's beyond the point of cancellation, beyond the point of changing the time when the order will actually be processed and finalized. So that is essentially it. And these order numbers will be restarted every day. It will be mapped to an actual order transaction number in the back end, which will be done for reporting purposes, which we'll see in a moment. Okay, so that's that. Then you have a summary here, and you can see this is defaulted to yesterday. So we're saying we're on the 5th of April here, and this is defaulted to the day before, so it's the Saturday. And this just gives you a very high level. You can obviously change this and filter it to whatever you want, but we'll keep it at that for the moment. So this is saying we've got 3 different categories. These are the top level categories for on the menu for this particular establishment, which is John Gandy's, and which we'll see when we get to the menu interface. And we're saying, okay, so they've sold 200, they sold a bit more for cocktails, sold very few specialty drinks, and that's the makeup of the value. Now this is designed not only for a very, very quick summary of whichever period you've drilled down on, but also this is designed for input into the main point of sale system. Of course, all these venues will want to have all of their Q-skip transactions, all of their Q-skip data, sales data, promotions data, everything migrated into their main point of sale system for their analysis purposes and for revenue and sales and cash reconciliation purposes. So at some point in the future, the intention would be to have an integration with point of sale systems where these things happen automatically, maybe a data upload at the end of the night, or maybe even live syncing where sales are actually go immediately and they just integrate with one another easy peasy. Obviously at the outset we won't be able to do that, so what we want to do is to make it as simple as possible, and we give the option that people can do it here, so they can input at that level, but they may want to go for a bit more granular detail, so they go here, and this shows that what the 200 there, what that is actually made up of with regards to the products there. Likewise with the cocktails. Then you can go a little further, and you can go here, and then now we're talking a product variant that has the unit cost attached to it. Now the product variant here for beers is always singles, beers and ciders is single bottles, single items. But you have a different variant here for these. You have strawberry mojito, you have single 2 for 10, which is actually a deal, which we'll see later as well, and then a jug, a deal, but also has actually been attached to a product on the menu as well. That's why it's there, and you can see what it's made up of there. And the final thing, you can go even further. You can go one further, which gives you the promotion detail. It gives you the promotion itself, what the promotion's name and ID is, and then it gives you the amount of discount. Of course, we'll get to promotions later, but it just shows that for these rattlers, for instance, 10 products were sold, one of them had a promotion attached to it, and ultimately led to a discount of £1.15, which gives us our total there. So they can decide which level of input they want to have, and still this is ultimately designed to make it as seamless as possible at the outset. And like I say, the intention would be for it to get more seamless, more efficient with regards to a technological solution, with regards to syncing with their main point of sale system, or maybe with an Excel download, an Excel upload, or something of that sort. And of course, if they decided they didn't want to do it, there are good analytics that we'll see later on, which can be driven from this system, from the back end here, so they can get good analytics with regards to reconciliation, all that sort of stuff. So they may want to just keep them separate and then reconcile them with their accountancy team at the back end. But if they did want to have it in the point of sale system, we want to give them as much flexibility, as much granular level of detail for them to be able to input it at the end of the night, or if they want to drill down on a week and do it at the weekend or something of that sort, they can do it. Ultimately, it is still a much more efficient way of doing things than actually having the staff member each time having to input into the point of sale system on the job, having to deal with card processing, having to deal with cash, having to deal with all this sort of stuff. All of that pain is taken out of the system, taken out of the process, because all of the point of sale system, all of the card transactions, all of the payment, all of that is done by the consumer on the consumer app. And then all these people have to do, all the staff have to do here, is fulfill the order which has already been processed. So it's very simple. Then you have this next level, which is the order history, which is essentially quite a similar thing, but it goes down to a more granular level of detail of exactly the orders that have come in sequentially. So you can see this is actually the order that we had before. Guinness Corona, we had a couple of the mojitos and all that stuff. This is the one that we processed only very recently, that we saw on the live orders. And again, it was 235, I think the order was, but actually the order ID in the back end is that. So there's reconciliation purposes on all of this, and of course up here in the corner you can export all this data as well if you wish. Okay, so I think that's enough on orders. So let's move to the menu interface. And here again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make it as easy, as seamless to quickly amend the menu that appears to the consumer at any given moment. So for instance, you may want to change the order of these pictures, for instance. You may want to get rid of this picture and upload something new, a nice dazzling picture. If you're doing a new promotion or something like that, you may want to put the promotion up there, a nice picture saying like promotion 2 for 1 Saturday night or whatever. Or you could do this, and this is very simple. You upload it from your tablet, which will just be an Apple tablet, Apple iPad. So you can have those photos and you just upload them very simply, and then you can reorder them like I just demonstrated, and that's that. And then you would have to save the menu to ensure that it actually goes live. And this is essentially how it would appear in the system. And you can turn off things like this. So if you say, okay, we're running low on classic mojitos and we want to keep those for our non-QSkip customers, we don't want to push those on the app, so we're just going to turn them off. Or for instance, at a pub where you run out of a beer and you just want to turn it off, and you say, okay, that's not available anymore. So that is the level of detail that you can actually do on this particular interface. Then if you want to go to a more granular level, a more detailed level of amending, adding to, removing, and all that sort of stuff, the menu, then you would click here. Now this comes here, you have the venue name. This is if you wanted to change the venue name to John Gandy's Happy Hour, if you wanted to put it in the name itself, so you really drew attention to it on the app, then you could do that. Then you have the actual different, this sort of tiered structure with regards to the menu that has been loaded into the system. The menu will of course be loaded into the system by QSkip personnel, and then afterwards they will be given access to make amendments themselves. So you give over control to the vendor to make things available, not available, add, remove, etc. Anyway, so you have the main menu, and you have sub-menu, product name, product description, and product variants. So let's go into the main menu. So the main menu, as we saw, is cocktails, beers and ciders, and then specialty drinks. Those are the three main categories which we saw at the top on the slider. Then we have the sub-menu. This John Gandy's doesn't actually have a sub-menu, but many establishments would. A sub-menu in this instance would be, for instance, you could have cocktails as the main category, the main slider menu, and then within cocktails you could have gin-based cocktails, and then vodka-based cocktails, and so on and so forth. Or if you were an establishment which served food, you could have main meals and then burger meals, steak meals, fish and chips, and so on and so forth. But like I say, John Gandy's fairly simple menu, don't have that. So they have product names. So here we go. So you have classic mojito, raspberry bramble, and all this sort of stuff. You can see this has been turned off because we turned it off on the main screen. Then you can make very simple changes here. So for instance, if you wanted to move the strawberry mojito up to where the classic mojito is, because it sort of makes sense, then you could simply move that up there and it would pop in. Again, none of this is being saved until you have to preview it and then save it on the main, which we'll see later. You may want to get rid of raspberry brambles because you're saying, okay, no one buys them, they're just cluttering up the menu, no good. You could just do this. You could also copy and just amend it into other ways, but you could do this and then you could delete it, and it just pops away. And you'd want to do that. You could also, if you make a mistake, just go back, but you would do that if you think that, okay, this is never going to sell, we want to get rid of it entirely. If you just want to get rid of it from the menu for a while, you would just turn it off by pressing this, which is the availability thing. So it stays there on the system, but it's not available, or it's not viewable to the consumer when they're making their order. Anyway, so that's that. So let's go a little further in here. Let's go to the product variants. So this is the classic mojito. So you have the product description, which again you can amend and you can make it all nice and, colorful language or whatever you want to do. Then you have the different product variants here. You have single, 2 for $10, and the jug. Now everything is defaulted to the first one you have on here, so that's why that is there. It's defaulted to the single. Now you can see, because we turned it off on the main screen, this has turned all of them off, because we turned it off on the main menu screen, so it's saying nothing with regards to the classic mojito is available. If you wanted to just turn one of them off, you would just do that, and you could maybe say, okay, we don't want this deal to apply for classic mojito. This deal, which is attached to a number of these cocktails, as we'll see, we don't want to attach. So that's that. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's go back, and now I'll show you what you can do if we wanted to add something. So let's say we wanted to actually have a top line category which actually has the deals attached to them. to really draw attention to the deals for QSkip customers to really drag them in. So we could call this very unoriginal name of deals, and then we would save. We would say you can add a submenu or a product name. We don't want a submenu as always, so what I'm going to do is just going to add product name. I'm going to copy this, paste it there, and I'm going to call it Deals A. I know it's not a particularly interesting name. This is not available yet because you still need to add other detail. There's not enough detail yet for it to even be available. But let's preview that and see what it looks like. Okay, so there it is. So like I said, it's not available. This now has become available because only one out of the three options has been turned off, as we saw. So this is now looks like it's available. Now here you can see top line, because we've added a new category, this has now become searchable. So the specialty drinks has now gone to the next stage because you're only allowed 3 of these at the top at any given moment, and then now it's a searchable thing. So if someone wants to click here, it'll immediately, on the consumer app, it'll immediately drill down to that level on the menu to make it nice and easy for them. Okay, so I could save that menu if I wanted to, but I'll go back to where I was and let's add. And what you can do actually is, if you wanted to just make it simple, if you want to put classic mojito, for instance, there, you could do that, drag it over. I don't actually want to do that, so let's get rid of that. Or you could do this. You could copy that, and then you can paste it there and have another one if you wanted to. And you could paste it there if you wanted to. And then it has all of the relevant product information and product detail that was already included, as we saw earlier, in there. So it has those 3. It has the single, then it has the 2 for $10 and the jug. So for instance, what you could do is you could change this name, Classic Mojito 2 for $10, and then you could get rid of the jug and the single and just have this as the deal, which is there under the deals category, and then it's all nice and easy to see. And it really attracts the customer and gets them making their orders. So there you go. There it is again. Not going to save any of this because I don't really want to. So I'm just going to go back. And that's about it. So that's quite easy again, I think, for amending the menu and turning things on and off, deleting things, copying things, pasting things, adding new products, adding new categories. All this stuff is a very quick demonstration, but it's simple and it's easy. And then you would just save it, and then it would be whether or not we would be able to do it live, or it would have to take a little bit of time for it to actually be processed. I don't know, but it would certainly be live for the next day. So for instance, you may have to decide, okay, we're opening our doors in an hour's time. What amendments do we want to make to the menu? And that's that.